Hi, we're in What Matters Most Worldwide, and Vincent, I'm sorry, could not be here tonight, so you're stuck with Colby for the first hour with Casey Runyon from House District 9 in Oregon. We're coming to you from sunny and hot Southern Oregon, unfortunately. It's extremely droughtful here right now, but for the second hour, we're going to have Minor Dave on, and he's going to talk about some wonderful things. But right now, let me introduce our guest, who is Casey Runyon. Casey?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, I turned the mute button back on. Hi.
So, Casey's a candidate for Coos County area, correct? Which is House District 9 for the state of Oregon?
It's House District 9. Covers the northern portion of Coos County, the coastal portion of Douglas County, coastal portion of Lane County, and a small element of Lincoln County, covering the town of Yachats.
Alrighty, well, Casey, why don't you give the listeners some background on yourself real quick?
Well, I'm running for state representative currently. Since my succeeding in the primary election on May 20th here in Oregon. Can you hear me, Colby?
Yes, sir. I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. There's times where you actually cut out.
When you're talking, I mute my mic, sir.
Oh, okay. So I started this campaign. I filed to run for state representative and to unseat the incumbent, Katie McEwen, who's been state representative since 2012, due to the abuses and the efforts led by the progressive members of the Legislative Assembly in Salem, Oregon, to further restrict and infringe on our right to keep and bear arms. In 2013, we saw a total of 11 gun bills that came out from both the House and the Senate. I believe 4 of them were from the House side, and the rest were from the Senate side. One in particular, the most dangerous one, was called House Bill 3200, and that essentially was an elimination of the right to own and possess basically any type of semi-automatic firearm that's on the market today. That's your basic double action or single action handgun. That's your AR-15. That's your custom-made AK. That's just about everything, and also further limited the capacity of ammunition, just like New York State and California has done. I don't remember the amount that it was going to reduce it to, but the legislation that in particular, House Bill 3200, it wasn't written by anybody, any sitting member of the Oregon legislature. It was actually written by the lawyers for Oregon's anti-gun group, Ceasefire Oregon, and it was passed on to State Representative Mitch Greenlick out of Portland, and he's the one who began the push for that particular bill. A few other Senate bills, Senate Bill, I believe it was Senate Bill 699 and Senate Bill 700 were particular background check bills that they were trying to pass at the time. And this was all knee-jerk reaction from Sandy Hook in December 2012. So Oregon followed suit with just about every other state that tried to pass anti-gun legislation. And like I said, it was a knee-jerk reaction, and thankfully we succeeded in killing every single one of those bills. But the fact of the matter is, our elected representatives, they're not their job is not to promote the undermining and the infringement of our rights. Their job is to protect our rights. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if a shooting happens. It doesn't matter how many kids or how many people are seriously injured or tragically killed. It doesn't matter. Our rights are our rights, and if they can't do their job, which is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Oregon, then they don't deserve to hold that office. They don't deserve to sit in that seat and pass laws based on the actions of a few. So some serious changes need to be made, and I saw the opportunity, so I jumped on it.
The other demographic that we've seen actually since the primary is Kitzhaber's. Have you read about what Kitzhaber did with? He actually called out off the other day. I think you commented on that topic. The left is now calling out Oregon Firearms Federation for a portion of silly things, because we've asked them to enforce the laws in the books. Well, apparently one of the laws that was on the book somewhere was that if you were denied, or I'm mistaken, because what I was reading was that Kitzhaber actually initiated this law himself personally. If you were denied a background check, that they were going to actually dispatch a officer to the scene from the state police department. And I've never actually been denied for a background check, so that really wouldn't bother me. But at the same time, it's still something that's kind of arbitrary. I mean, not everyone that's in there is a felon trying to buy a weapon. Not everyone in there that, in fact, my buddy that lives with me, his father was at an auction and got denied for a background check, and it was just because they both have this same name, and his son had just bought 2 guns at the auction, so it was a complete typographical mix-up. They're 2 different people. So it's kind of, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to dispatch a state trooper out to check this guy out and hassle him because he was denied for a gun because of a mix-up that wasn't anything to do with anything he did. It's, I don't know. Oregon State's a little bit different. We do have one Democrat, I can't remember whether she was in the House or not, but who always votes with us on killing gun control bills, and she has monumentally, from what I've been told by many people, done a lot of really good stuff for us on guns, at least. On other things, she's not on par all the time, but she's a lot better than what we would expect from most. So
yeah, that's Betsy Johnson. She's on the Senate side. That's Senator Betsy Johnson from Scappoose.
That is her name, yes, Betsy Johnson. All I had to do was hear it. Yeah. We have some good things going in Oregon, but we've really got to get a hold of our wildlife. We've got to get a hold of our public lands, especially. Our public lands are out of control. We're burning them instead of harvesting them, and even after we burn them, we can't go in and harvest the burnt wood that's still remaining. We've got to, honestly, you seem like you're an open carry activist also, correct?
I am.
I've seen there's a couple YouTube videos out there if you look. I don't know what the names of them are. I'm sure Casey could plug those right now.
Yeah, there's a couple videos. One in particular is from the Clackamas County Fair from last summer, where I was at Tim McMenamin's candidate booth. This was way before I had filed. This was during the time that I was actually contemplating running for the Senate seat held by Elizabeth Steiner Hayward currently. When we lived in Beaverton, there was some correspondence back and forth between Miss Hayward and myself regarding the bills that I had just finished talking about out of the Senate side. And I was seriously disturbed by her response. So I said, well, maybe I just need to run for her Senate seat. Well, then we moved down here to the South Coast, and I already knew that Caddy McEwen's House seat was up in 2014. So after January, the first week of January of this year, I filed, and that's what I've been doing ever since. Now I'm actively campaigning, and I'm in it for the general. As far as the the Oregon lands, yeah, that's a whole another issue that Oregon is facing, just like the state of Washington is facing. Oregon and Washington, Northern California, Oregon and Washington, we used to be the powerhouse for the logging industry long ago, and because of the environmentalists, they've all but put a complete stop to it. Every attempt at bidding on land by a logging company, the environmentalists file a lawsuit right away. Logging companies that attempt to go in and harvest the burnt timber that had just gotten taken over by wildfire, they put a lawsuit immediately on that to prevent that being removed for lumber use or for whatever else it's going to be used for. We do have a serious problem that's related with the logging industry, the state lands, and education. And that one in particular is actually a Oregon statute. It's titled under the Elliott State Forest. By law, by Oregon statute, the Elliott State Forest is required to be harvested, and the funds gained from that timber harvest goes to the Common School Fund. Well, because of the environmentalist action in preventing the logging industry to do anything, that law is continuously being broken. It's just it's mind-boggling how the state is just allowing this to continue on, where we now have almost but full implementation of a Common Core in our public schools, and federal money for the implementation of Common Core.
You've got kids, right, Casey?
I have one daughter now, and it's going to be a few years until she starts school. But if Common Core is still around,
let me give you an interpretation of life as a father, the child going into Head Start the first time, and your first child. They are quote unquote, or you quote unquote, are required to allow them to inspect your house 6 to 8 times a year. Well, it's not inspect your house, but that's really what it is. What they do is they come to your house and they meet the child in the child's environment, so that the child feels welcomed when they show up. And that's not what they're doing. They're writing a report about how your house looks. And I had him in the first time, and I was like, no, I watched what she was doing. She was seeing how we live our life. That's none of her business. My Fourth Amendment protects against this, and I took a stand on it, and they backed off. And they actually asked me to come to their Head Start little chapter, or whatever you would call it. I think it's like a little Head Start district meeting, but it's only for that actual one. And
this is only requirement of Head Start?
This is a requirement of Head Start. They come with a teacher. I think it's 4 times a year, and then they come with the parent-child advocate, who is actually like a DHS worker that works at Head Start. So, Nazi Germany is not too far off, bro. And that's what I said. I was like, "You're not coming to my house." And then
I have not yet heard this. I have not yet heard this, Colby.
This is a part of Common Core, actually.
Yeah. Well. Thankfully, our candidate for governor, Dennis Richardson, is calling on the state legislature to, as well as John Kitzhaber. I don't see any assistance from the governor's office on this moratorium, but there's a moratorium being requested by Dennis Richardson to put a complete stop to this before its full implementation. And I was just asked last night by an email to be on the list of candidates and incumbents that support the calling for a moratorium on it.
Wait, and you were asked by Dennis Richardson?
Not Dennis Richardson trying to remember it's the Abigail Adams
okay.
Fund. The people with the Abigail Adams PAC to be on the list of candidates and incumbents insistent on putting a moratorium on it, and I responded back as soon as I could. I'd be proud to be on that list, and that's what I'm going to work on if elected, is getting a complete nullification at the state level of Common Core.
So, have you looked into the mining issues we're having on in the Southern Oregon area at all?
You're referring to mining and prospecting?
Roger, I am. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I actually met with a good group of guys and gals, men and women, with the North Bend Prospectors just last week. And I was brought up to speed somewhat. There's still a lot of parts of it that I'm learning about, but the biggest thing is the 700 permit, the permit required for dredging. That Caddy was in support of, that Caddy voted for, and how the Legislative Assembly implemented this permitting system in order to dredge the rivers and streams and whatnot with the state prospecting groups. People just going out either by hobby, or this is their lifestyle, or this is their full method of income. This is this is how they make money. They find gold. They're good at finding gold, and this is how they make their money. And I don't think there should be any permit requirement to do this. The state is claiming that it's a protection against damage in the rivers and streams and the waterways. But I agree with the prospectors. There's no damage at all done. Certain times of the year where
I got a quick interjection on that one.
Pardon?
I got a quick interjection on that one. It's
okay.
It's humorous that they would file a lawsuit against the gun range in Jackson County because it's putting too much lead into the soil. But they're totally against dredge mining, which is taking lead weights that are everywhere. If you've ever been out hardcore fishing and you haven't found a lead cluster, you had some horrible line.
That is a good point. That is an excellent point right there. Yes, that is phenomenal right there. I actually hadn't thought about that. The environmentalist groups, well, especially the EPA, the Oregon's branch of the EPA is the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality.
I can interject on that one really quick too. That's an easy one. So when I was in the Army, everybody around me liked to drive these rice burners, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're familiar with any type of performance modification to a vehicle. Unless it's a diesel, your vehicle actually burns cleaner once you have performance modifications. Now, once you go over a certain limit, you're going to have a check engine light. They will stick a sniffer tube up the back end of a car that is running on straight E85, which they say is this miracle fuel out of corn. And I couldn't pass DEQ. But on the plus side, pure E85 is 110 octane. But I can't get it here.
Right.
So how does this make any sense? You want the cars to burn cleaner, but when someone does this as a performance application, it's not acceptable.
See, this is a perfect example of the catch-22 that is environmentalism. They claim this, and you give them this, but then in turn they say that and deny you that. It's how liberalism works. It's how progressivism works. It's their end goal to get you out of your personal vehicle and put you in public transportation.
There's many. I mean, Oregon's a prime example of a lot of these things because we take on a lot of these California laws, and California's laws for vehicle safety are extensive. I mean, cops can pull over and test if your headlights are, they got a tape measure on their belt, and they're like, "Oh, are your headlights at the right angle?" Oh, there's a fix-it ticket, and it's they're even worse. And then all these people, and no offense to people that do move up from California or people that are good-minded and want to get out of the chaos going on in California, because it is chaotic in there. And I'm telling you, I don't blame you, but when you come up here, lose it at the border. Start living life how it is for a while and see how things go. And don't always be pulling this, oh, well, in California we did this, because people escape that because they don't like it. And then they bring it here, and I've seen this legislatively, and they come in and they're like, I left California because I didn't like the laws and the restrictions and this and that. And then they come here, and all they do is they repeat it.
Yeah, or like the nice old gray-haired lady from Ashland who attended the Ashland City Council meetings on the Ashland
The one that
intention to play the ban on open carry in the town of Ashland.
Yeah, myself and a lot of people worked really hard to get that stopped. And it's funny. Yes. The only thing we needed was to sit down, talk to them, and preach education, and preach why wasn't it this way then? Why is it this way now? You stop the education on firearms. I'm not going to dive into the story about what I told you that happened to me on Sunday, but I mean that right there. That is a prime example of where do you live? You are the gateway to the forests. Yeah. What are people going to do? They're going to carpool. If they know it's a safe place to leave a vehicle that won't get towed, they're going to park it there where it's not in your way. It's just the ignorance of people, and it's not intentional. We've taken these things out of the schools for different classes, and it doesn't work properly. I mean, if you could,
well, a lot of it has to do with the generations that have been drilled cultural Marxism. It started somewhere in the early mid to late 60s, and it's just progressed ever since then. And they infiltrated this country's schools and universities, and it has just spread like wildfire since then. They've gotten into everybody's head that goes to college, whether it's a liberal arts degree or some other type of a political course. These professors in these universities, they have just they've infiltrated everybody's minds, and I can attest to it. I can testify as witness to this, because I saw even at Portland Community College up in Hillsborough at Rock Creek. I was in a political science course. I had a few of them, not because it was a requirement for my degree, but because it was something I was interested in doing. I was interested in learning more the aspects of the political sciences. And one of the courses that I ended up taking, I forget the title of the course, but the particular instructor that I had for this course if she wasn't communist, she was pretty much hardline socialist, because I'm trying how to put this lightly. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say who she was, because I don't want to get any backlash from that. I need to protect myself. But this individual, this instructor with Portland Community College, does not believe in personal property rights. She believes that the ample open space of agricultural land, privately owned farmland, could be better put to use by building urban housing developments and making providing housing for people that need housing for the homeless, or housing for like things like that. People less fortunate, people that don't really have nice homes. And I was taken aback. I was just so dumbfounded by those words. The conversation began on how the problem of the overpopulation of the world, and how the progressive mind, the liberal mind, actually thinks that there's the world we live in is running out of land land to actually live, and we're being overpopulated. And she looked out the window, and not sure if you've ever been to the Rock Creek campus of Portland Community College, but the entire northern face of Rock Creek PCC is farmland. It is owned by it's private property. Farmers have their cattle on it, whether it's for a dairy farm or for agriculture. They grow corn on it. They grow hay on it. They bale hay on it. It's their private property. And she looked out the window. She pointed at everybody. She said, "Look at all that. Look at all that land. We could build housing projects on it. We could build urban areas on it. We could put people in homes and apartments." And I spoke up. I raised my hand. I said, "Wait a minute. That's private property." She said, "If you call it that."
Wow.
I was like, wow. I said, yeah, I did. I said, wow. I was amazed. This is the culture. This is
the kind of stuff. It doesn't make any sense. They don't want you to go to the forest. They don't want you to have farms. They don't want you to have livestock. God forbid we actually slaughter cows and pigs and chickens for food. It makes no logical sense. This is people like John Kerry, who are, and I'm pretty sure people have seen this on Facebook. I never confirmed or denied it. I just went past it like, I could probably see him saying this. He told Africa not to grow GMO crops because it would inhibit global warming more. It would increase. I saw it and I didn't look at it, so I can't confirm or deny it. So I'm not, dishing John Kerry a bad one, but I mean that's the kind of way that those people talk, and it seriously doesn't make any sense. I mean, we need sensible people. And you were in the military for how long?
Anything said by a man who was dishonorably discharged from the Navy, and how he somehow managed to sneak his way up the ladder and made himself Secretary of State is just absolutely disgraceful. Whatever that guy says, I just brush it off as irrelevant and incoherent blabbering. I saw the same article how that happened, and it's another wow right there.
I don't know. It's always a contradiction with them. It's like let's save these people, but let's starve our own people. I mean,
exactly.
Since around World War I, we have been doing nothing but inflating our economy with the death of soldiers, war, and producing a giant industrial complex, in my opinion. And it's worked because when soldiers die, a family member gets a giant paycheck, or if a soldier doesn't, they come back and they've got free. The Clinton administration is a really good example of this, actually. If you think of the Clinton administration, why did he have such a prosperous economy? Well, because he got rid of a holy crap ton of soldiers really quick that had just come back from war.
He shut down a crap load of Air Force bases.
And then all these soldiers go into the economy. They are hard chargers. They've got money in their pocket already, and they build businesses, or they go to school, and they feed an economy. How many died, though? Not too many, but enough with the financial benefits that were gained from it, not only through that, but through the industry that we produced, to actually spark the economy. We overproduced, unfortunately, and what we ended up with was all this excess stuff that is now going where? Into your local police stations, unfortunately. And when you overbid a contract with a company, hey, you bite the bullet. And you're the federal government, it's a corporation. Everyone knows it. So the fact that they had the contract, they had to fulfill it. They could do all these contracts and fulfill all these contracts and bail out every other country in the world, and they could build fences in other countries in the world, but they can't finish one on our southern border because it's objective-based. Everything that they're doing federally is objective-based. I think you jumping into the state level is honestly a good idea because the state level is where stuff can really happen. We have interstate commerce.
Right.
I've read that marijuana legislation. But it's got back and forth. The left's going to want it. The right's going to despise it. The left's already come out and said that they back it 100%. But it's more of the left taking a grab. Have you actually read that bill, the proposal?
Which are you talking about? Measure 91.
I believe that's it. The marijuana proposal.
Yeah. The legalization of marijuana.
Right. Have you read that one?
I read a little bit of it, and actually, what I read yesterday, it's actually not being supported by the Democratic Party. The Oregon Democrat Party is not supporting that bill.
They actually are on county levels.
Oh, on county levels? Oh, at the state level. From what I read, the state level Democrat Party is not supporting that.
Sorry, I thought I had enough time to jump through somewhere. It's different when you're on internet radio. I had to grab a glass of water. So what did you take out of that one when you read it?
We're still talking about Measure 91?
Yeah.
I only read there was a list of the measures that have been put forth onto the ballot. Measure 88, the driver's licenses for illegal aliens.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need a driver's license to travel.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. It's just been something that it's been a state level requirement for well, of course, American citizens, but. I don't know. I don't want illegal aliens having driver's licenses because they're here driving illegally already. So what good is that going to do us by giving them a driver card to encourage them to? It's just going to encourage more invading into our state. Oregon gives free driver cards. We'll have a driver card. We can drive legally. We don't know how to follow their laws. We don't know how to read their traffic signs, but we'll drive their roads. No.
I can agree with that extensively, and I'm not going to get extensively into it because I've researched. I'm at home with 3 kids, so while they're watching cartoons, I'm reading.
90% of the time.
A lot of things, yeah.
90% of the time, I'm driving on the road, and I come up behind somebody who's doing about 15 or 20 miles an hour under the speed limit, and I finally get the opportunity to pass them. 90% of the time, it's a Hispanic person because they don't know what speed that they're supposed to be traveling to go along with everybody else.
That's a little bit different of a demographic, though. We have that pretty much as our primary demographic of illegals here, unless you're in Portland, is Hispanic. So most of the time, and not all, there's a lot of them that have lived here for a long time. They're in the schools. I mean, it's not just them. There's also illegals here that I've met that are actually of European descent of some sort. So we don't have a larger demographic of them, but because of our geological location, we do have a lot more that are of the Hispanic ethnicity. If you look at the license as it's supposed to be, which it's not now, and the people have had it that way for so long that it'll never change. It was technically supposed to be only for collection of commerce, and I understand that it's. As an individual, you can fight this, and you'll spend a lot of money. There's a couple of people that are in the party actually that have done this, and it's baffling what you have to go through to actually fight something like this for the right to travel. Because if you're just like myself, who's a disabled veteran that's got some kids, I don't have to have a license or registration under the actual law. The actual Supreme Court here in Oregon has ruled such, but it's so in depth, and you gotta go and spend all the money, and it's really not worth your time. It's more, it's honestly, I've looked into it, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. It's impound fees and all that other entailed encroachment, but there's a lot going on. And that one right there, if you think about it, could be backdoor citizenship too, because to be a citizen in the state of Oregon, you have to have a driver's license for how many months?
To be a resident of Oregon,
to
get your driver's license, I believe it's 6 months. You have to reside in the state of Oregon for 6 months in order to get your driver's license.
Negative. You actually have to change your driver's license after 30 days of being here. You have to change your driver's license. I learned this one the hard way when I came back from the Army. But to be I was okay though. It was just a fix-it ticket.
Yeah. Well, when I came up 6 years ago after I left Camp Pendleton, because I actually thought I was going to be re-enlisting and staying in for another 4 years in the Marine Corps, I actually gave up my Michigan driver's license, and I went into the California DMV, and I got a California driver's license. So after I found out I wasn't going to be re-enlisting, and I was once again honorably discharged, and I moved up to Oregon, I just kept my California driver's license. I believe it was it was December of 2010, I believe it was. I don't know if it expired or not, but that was until I got my Oregon driver's license. It wasn't until probably December of 2010, and I thought it was only a 6-month requirement, but I was never told that I was supposed to do it after 30 days. I thought it was 6 months.
More of my story on that is just don't drive a flashy truck that sounds loud. No, actually, the requirement for changeover is 30 days, but your actual residency as an Oregon citizen is you have to have a license for 6 months. That's what that refers to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So, in a technicality, every time that an illegal immigrant were to get a driver's license, guess what? After 6 months, they're automatically a what?
Well, and yeah, that along, of course, with the Kate Brown's design of adding their
state tuition,
their driver's licenses through the DMV, they want to automatically register people with a driver's license to vote. So there you go, backdoor voter registration provided by the progressive leadership of the state of Oregon to remain in power, to continue the progressivism and the liberalism, because then in turn they're going to be continuously voted in, because that's what these people do. When people find out they can vote themselves in money, that's what they're going to do.
Well, that's how it works. Look at Jeff Merkley.
Yeah.
Anti-GMO, anti-big corporation, but he's actually getting financial funding for a campaign from a GMO sugar company. Are you out of your mind?
Amazing.
It's like, you preach all this and you do the exact opposite. Stop talking out of both sides of your mouth. Actually get with your citizens. Stop worrying about fundraisers and actually do the work. And, there's a lot of candidates that deserve a lot more credit than they got for the primary, because, I helped out Gordon Chalstrom. I tell you what, for jumping in so late in the game, for him to gain second was amazing, because all we did was I ran his Facebook page for him, and if somebody asked a question, I'd give him a phone call. I'd type it out, put it on there, how he worded it, he was everywhere. That guy was driving all over the place. There were so many candidates that were just busting on the Republican ticket, and I'm sure there were less on the Democratic ticket, but it's when you've got a split in a state like that, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
How do you said you were in Beaverton, right?
I did live in Beaverton. That was last summer. That was before we moved to Reedsport.
Huh. How do you feel now that you're down where you're at? What's your opinion of the change? Do you feel mellower? Did the people feel a little, besides the typical issues we have in Southern Oregon with drug abuse and homelessness? Especially the poorer counties.
It's a small town. It's in a rural county. Douglas County is a very rural county. The biggest town in Douglas County is Roseburg, which is the county seat as well. It's one of the bigger counties. It's one of the really bigger counties. It's just we only cover about a 20-mile span of Douglas County. Douglas County borders the northern portion of Coos County and the southern coastal portion of Lane County, and it's a very, very small portion here in this district. District 9 only encompasses I don't know square mileage right off the top of my head, but it's a fair size of the district. It's roughly a third of the district. So there is a lot of better aspects of living down here. It's a small town. It's rural, and that's what I'm used to. That's where I grew up. I was born and raised in a rural community. I was born and raised on a farm. Grew up on a farm. Never really set foot in a big city until the first time we went on a family vacation when I was a kid down to Lansing to visit the state capitol. And I was probably maybe 9 years old at the time. So that was my first experience getting out into a bigger city. But no, we did live in Beaverton, and before that I lived in Hillsboro, and that was only because I was going to PCC and Hillsboro Aviation over there at the Hillsboro Airport. But there's problems down here. Just like there is anywhere else. There's actually there's a meth problem down here. Unfortunately, that's really bad down here. Ever since the closing of the logging mills, the paper mills down here, things have just really gone to hell. There was a paper mill in Gardner that closed down in 1999, and that used to be the prime revenue and source of jobs right here in Reedsport, and for Florence and for Gardner, and the mills that were in Coos Bay, those got shut down, and the people that we're up against, they're the ones responsible for shutting them down because they sided with the environmentalists. So that's something I'm trying to focus on as well. Hopefully, bringing logging back to this area. This is still a big logging region, and it needs to come back because logging is a big job provider. And if we can get the Elliott State Forest back into the Common School Fund, our schools, our Oregon schools statewide, are going to prosper, and they're going to benefit very, very much.
I think you've got a really good point there, and I put a lot of work in with local candidates that have succeeded. Most of my state work, I did a lot of that as well. Wasn't as helpful. I didn't actually find out about your candidacy and your running for primary actually until after the primary. Well, that had helped out with that too. There's a lot of candidates out there though that are doing a really good job, and they're not your normal candidates. I mean, we've got a lot more Republican candidates this year that are left or leaning, or not left or leaning, but libertarian leaning also. They believe in property rights. They believe in leaving people the heck alone. They believe in if it's not causing harm to somebody, do what you got to do. And I'm a Republican. I'm kind of more constitutionalist leaning, and I think,
as am I.
Yeah, I think being from the military, it kind of, after you get out and you realize that, and not everybody has this opinion. It's a little bit different for everybody. I realized it when I got out. We were fighting two wars that were inevitably going to be something that never ended.
Yeah. I'd like to give a point about running for elected office. Something that not everybody quite realizes, and that is there's two kinds of people that run for office, whether it's for county commissioner, or for your school board, or for state representative, state senator, in the higher levels up. There's only two kinds of people that run for office. The kind of people, the kind of person that respects the Constitution, intends to follow the letter of the law in upholding and defending the Constitution, and only voting with bills to pass in the law that coincide and do not violate the Constitution or anybody else's rights. And then there's the kind of person that has absolutely no intention of abiding by the oath that they took, and has every intention to pass laws based on knee-jerk reactions for the quote-unquote safety and security of people, and for special interest groups such as Moms Demand Action and the Brady Campaign and the Coalition to End Gun Violence. These groups are out to attack our freedom. They already are on the attack of our freedom. They're trying at every whim to sweep the rug underneath our feet and violate our freedom. In my honest opinion, there should be only one kind of person to hold elected office, and that first requirement for holding elected office is previously serving in the military. Doesn't matter what branch, but that is the first requirement right there. We need to end this establishment hold by lawyers and doctors and yes, unfortunately, business owners. Even though I love business owners, I love small business owners. They provide jobs, but the fact of the matter is, these people get in office and they completely forget that the oath that they took to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution, because they agree with that special interest groups that wants a law put in place to undermine our freedom. And this is a disturbing fact. And furthermore, the fact is, I think I am maybe one of two or three, or even if the only candidate right now in the state of Oregon that was not picked by a party. I was not picked by the Oregon Republican Party. I stood up and I did something about this. I stood up and I filed to run for office, and I won the primary race, which now puts me in the general election. So because I wasn't picked, they can't control me. They if I win this seat, and I become the next state representative for House District 9, they can't control me. And furthermore, that they're going to be kept in check, and they're going to be constantly reminded about the oath of the Constitution that they took, and that any bill that is brought forth to the floor for a vote does not coincide or align with the Constitution, charges will be pressed.
I think you're bringing up a lot of really good points right now. One of them, when you talk about businessmen and lawyers, and it's businessmen, lawyers, doctors,
right,
real estate agents, and if you actually watch like I do, and yes, if you're from Jackson County and you're with politics locally, I'm watching you. The people like the Rotary Club that back this candidate get these bids. The people like Adroit, and no offense to Adroit, they're a really good company, they do really good work. They get all the bids because of people that are in office. It's a very complex thing. I've watched real estate agents get a bid from Jackson County recently, and guess what? They're on the Rotary Club with people that are in the seats in office. It's a big system of just... I don't even know how to explain it. It's honestly, it's like pat my back, I'll pat yours. And I'm sure Casey saw this in the military. I know I did. If you're not a good old boy, you're not willing to go along with the scheme and, do what they want, and you're going to call the regulations what they are. I mean, I saw this in aircraft maintenance. I had one W4 that always had my back, and he was an amazing guy. His name was Troy Dabney, and I will plug him right now. He's down at CCAD right now. Mm-hmm. And he's a really, really good maintenance pilot and pilot instructor. He would call me in and say, well, what's really wrong with the aircraft, Colby? Well, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong. Well, yeah, this is what's wrong, but that's not what my E6 is going to tell you. But he knew me personally well enough that as an E4, if he asked me the question, I'm going to give the honest answer, even if after we leave, I'm going to get my butt chewed. They speed things along to get more production. And we don't just see this in the military. A lot of the things we see in the military actually retrospect into real life. Think about the barracks life. What is a stack and pack housing for HUD? It's barracks life. What is subsidized housing? That's for a multifamily unit. It's on-base housing. What are food stamps? I'm sure you can answer this for me.
Compared to
the military.
Well, that would be the meal card.
The meal card, or your basic allowance for...
Right.
Yeah, and then think about HUD housing. You get a check and you get to give it to people. It's the same exact things perpetrated. These things have been tested. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this. Obamacare is probably the same exact medical care that we had in the military. And let me tell you what, you thought wait times were horrible before?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't go on sick call. And why, Casey? Because you'll be there all flippin' day long.
Yeah, I don't know what the I don't know what the Army's like with their the different branches. They have their own, because with the Army you've got your own in branch. Your medics, those are Army. Well, in the Marine Corps, those are Navy corpsmen, and the Navy runs the medical aspect of that, on the Marine Corps side. So things weren't really.
I got a simple way to explain it that'll make you understand. So you guys have got like a cheap check-in clinic. Here we call it a clinica or something like that,
mm-hmm.
and it's for low income.
Okay,
it's the same thing. It's called a sick call, and what you do is you've got a medic station. So your medics aren't actually at your unit. Your medics are attached to your unit, but they have their own building, where
right.
It's like a small doctor's office.
Yeah.
There's one or two docs and a couple of medics. So it's like going to use the VA?
I have, but I don't go there for just actual, regular checkups or anything like that. I've only gone in as, for service connected reasons for that, and then when that was done, I'm done with them. So.
Because it's the same thing. You're going to be there all day.
Exactly.
These systems have all been tested.
Huge waste of time.
And that's kind of like what I'm trying to put out is, we've tested all these systems. We've tested all of them in the military and on veterans. And then guess what we're doing? Shots are not mandatory. What were they when you were in the service, when you were the Corps?
Well, yeah, you do have a good point. With Obamacare, having it be just like the military. Well, I kind of want to interject with that. I kind of want to, make a correction on that. The military's care is 100 times better than that of the VA. So essentially, what Obamacare is designed to be,
I agree with
that of the VA.
And it's been tested.
Yes.
It's been proven ineffective and to kill people.
Right.
I don't know how long. I don't know if you have any service connect. You said you had service connected. I'm sure you waited for a while. I think we've talked about this before, actually.
It took me just under 3 years to get what I have.
Yeah, I'm on 4 years now, and I'm still not finalized.
Wow, I think you need to find a different representative, Colby.
Yeah, I had the best one in the state, and she got things fixed quickly the first time, and it took 2 years, but she got it done. But it's stifling. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you would wait on for Social Security if it was completely ran by Obamacare. And Social Security is probably about the same way. I don't know. I'm not on it. The VA suggested it, but we've got a lot of problems to swap up, man. I mean, the VA, when I walked out of there, they were like, you need to go get on Social Security. What? I'm 30 years old. I don't need Social Security. Fix my books. It's simple. not like mobster fix my books, but there's discrepancies. You guys need to check them up before a 3-year period lapses. But,
right.
Well, it's been great having you on, and I have a question, and you can not answer or answer this one.
Shoot.
You're running for candidate, okay, which means that you're going to have to vote on things. Would you take a solemn pledge that you would read through every bill as not and interpret it as yourself, but also not take into mind your own personal preference with that.
Every bill that comes across my desk would be read carefully, diligently, and made accurately sure to fall in line with the confines of the Constitution. I have expressed that I am a statesman, and statesmanship compared to the status quo of politicians. Statesmen do not support bills that violate the Constitution and violate people's rights. So that is something that yes, I do intend to read every bill that is going to be brought up for a vote and possibly passed into law. So the only reason that I would support such a bill is if it's constitutional.
I'm just going to let David know, because I know he's listening, that I'm going to be calling you up here in about 3 minutes, but we've got a little bit more to talk about Casey for the next 3 minutes. So he's listening, and he asked me to do so I figured I'd give him a heads up. Casey, you ran against your party chair, who honestly supports your candidacy, even though you beat him in the primary. Is that correct?
I believe so. We're talking about Jason Payne?
Yes, sir. I've seen him stand up for you a numerous amount of times personally. So. I've spoken to him. I've spoken to him before. He does personally support my campaign, although the Coos County Republicans have not publicly done so. As far as an endorsement, there is none. But other than that, yes, personal on a personal stand, he is supporting me. You haven't called up Kevin Starrett, or do I need to? He hasn't endorsed you yet?
I actually just got off the phone with Kevin yesterday. I was going to ask him about an endorsement because I actually thought it came with their donation, but as far as an official endorsement, I haven't gotten anything in the mail.
So the Oregon Federal Firearms has actually...
Oregon
Federation of Firearms, sorry.
Oregon Firearms Federation.
I'm backwards. It's because I'm left-handed, but at least I'm a better shot. So it helps out.
So. Oh, that means you're an automatic progressive. We got to cut that hand off.
Oh, we better do that. Got to retrain me. But so you did go to the Republican Party though for some endorsements and for some financial assistance with your campaign.
I didn't officially reach out to the party. I was told by the Oregon Republican Party chairman that the House leadership, led by Representative Mike McLean, was not going to be supporting my campaign due to the information of my past coming across their desks.
Okay.
So based on that, for whatever reason, they don't think that I have a solid chance of defeating the incumbent. That was something that I tried to discuss with them, but due to their lack of interest in it, they simply denied any support, any endorsement. So basically, I'm doing this all on my own, or donations that I've asked for personally, from personal donations. I actually did just this week receive the endorsement from the Oregon Anti-Crime Alliance, so I do have that endorsement.
There you go. All right, Casey. Well, I hope that people in the area can, dredge up some support for you. And if you're a listener and you're in Oregon and you can actually contact people, in his area that you know personally, I know that we've got a couple of gun groups online that would probably be quick to jump on endorsing him. And if I have to, I will call Kevin Starrett myself and ask for an endorsement for you. It wouldn't be the first or the last time I've done this.
That would be awesome. That really would be awesome. I was actually going to ask him on the phone yesterday, but I had a knock at the door and I had to cut our phone conversation short. I didn't get the opportunity to ask him. I did ask him before the primary election, but because it was myself and Jason Payne running against each other, he didn't want to just give one Republican endorsement and not the other. So I think he would. I'm not going to say that's a guarantee, but I think Kevin would happily give me the endorsement due to my opposition of Mark Kelly coming into our hearing room in our state Senate hearing room against or in support of a bill that would forever take away our right to make a private transfer with our friend or with our cousin or with our brother or anybody else. So I'm talking about the background check bill, Senate Bill 1551. And I did get confirmation that he is going to change my grade from the Oregon Firearms Federation giving the highest grade available to a candidate who's never held office before being a B+. He did say he was going to change that to a solid A. So I do have that as well.
All right, Casey. Well, it's been really amazing talking to you. I've got to add Dave in. We cut a little bit into his time, but I'm sure he won't be too upset.
All right. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Colby.
Oh, definitely. Awesome. Yeah, I think it was a great talk, and we'll have a podcast of this up, so you can share it on Facebook or wherever you'd like to.
Okay.
But I know you've got some other engagements to get to. If you'd like to plug those really fast, I've got to get Dave in here.
All right, Colby. Well, hey, you take care. I'll see you around.
You as well, sir.
Okay.
Well, we've got Miter Dave coming up next, and he's got some interesting things to talk about. I'm calling him right now. We'll see if we can get him on the line. Hopefully, he's available. On the intermission, I'm actually going to check out some of your guys'... Ooh, the Side Girl is all over the page today. I've seen a lot of your comments, and actually they were pretty good. We had a couple of anonymous viewers that were looking at and actually commenting that we're doing a great job. Dave should be coming in here, but if not, I guess I'm going solo, and I would have no idea what to do at that point. So we had a little bit of a technical difficulty getting Dave on here, but give me a second, I can probably get that fixed.
All right.
Give me a second. Mute up.
Can you still hear me? It was like I was froze up. I couldn't answer it.
It actually hung me up too, trying to bring you in. Anon 2089, can you confirm if we're actually live on the air now? Or the Side Girl?
You can still hear me, right?
Roger, sir, you're online.
All right, well, I don't know, something froze up. It was weird.
1 second. I do
It was
believe
like we were under attack for a second.
That was kind of weird. We should be live on the air now. I don't know for sure, though. I will know in a second. Bear with us, guys. I don't know. I tried to connect Dave in and it kicked me off. Okay, we're online, Dave.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Colby. I would like to say before we get started, I'm going to be talking about Jefferson and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin signing the treaty, the end of the War of Independence, and how it ties to the mining state. Because during that period of time, the king at the time had given out a lot of land grants, and he wanted the land grants honored, and he wanted all debts honored that were owed for repayment of debts owed publicly publicly and privately. And so that's where that leads to. So, Jules, I'd like you to entitle this A Republic for Jefferson, and how it ties to the grants, trusts, debts, treaties, compacts, and agreements, and how they're binding by treaty, and how the mining estate is the supreme law of the land. Because what they did was, in early years, especially during the war, and they needed miners, they invited miners to go out on the land and go mine gold because they needed money for the war. And the Applegate, there was actually where my claim is, it had more people there than Portland did at the time. There was 5,000 people there in 1900. World War II pretty much made them go away. But since this is a treaty, and England signed a treaty that created the foundation of our Constitution under contract law, treaty law, and fulfilling your obligations of trust, of your public trust. And so here's what I have a proposal. I'm not sure how to get a hold of these people because I don't know who they are. But I'd like to have England and the miner. I know I've got one miner connected to me on LinkedIn. He knows who he is. If he hears this broadcast, I'd like him to get the ambassador of England to the United States to talk to the ambassador to England and see if we can't work out the treaty obligations that the United States has. And they have jurisdiction to bring this case to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit as a breach of the treaty. And even though this was passed after that, this is based on that treaty. Because they invited people over from Europe. The only condition to get a grant was you had to pledge your intentions to become a citizen of the United States. That was it. And so people from Europe, miners from Europe came out here speaking, probably who knows how many different languages. I know there was a lot of Chinese here. And and you can see evidence where they hydroed. The Chinese actually taught the white guys how to hydro. It's kind of amazing because mostly the people that came, they'd been working different kinds of mines. They hadn't been working gold mines. They'd been working coal mines. And they had a lot to learn, different geology. But here we go. I have a right to have the treaty made with the American people, the United States citizen, to have and file on a claim. I filed on it lawfully. It was open. Well, let me explain. If a claim is closed, that means it's already filed on. A claim that is open means it's open to file on. So I filed an open claim. I've been defending it ever since I filed on it. Now, I did have a reprieve. I filed the claim May 5th, 2006. May 8th, 2006, when I plotted it out, and we wrote up the claim, and I filed it. Did all the proper things at the time. And in November that year, I got hassled. They didn't really do anything. And for 3 years, they didn't really do anything. They threatened me with a lot of stuff, but they didn't really do anything. They interfered with me constantly, Mr. Don Ross. So he's in breach of his fiduciary duty. Stay out of the grant. He should have never hassled me. He probably put in 3 years at at least 20 to 30 hours a week on me in the summertime, watching me. I didn't even know he was watching me, but whatever. Then he would show up to camp and want to pull in and want to do an inspection, and I'd say, "What authority do you have to do an inspection?" And I'd say no. But and then other times I offered to show him where I was working, because he was trying to say I wasn't working. They didn't believe me that I was working. And I said, I'll take you right to the spot I've been working. I'll show you what I've done. And he was never interested in that because if he didn't see it, and then finally they got me hoodwinkled to go up to Portland. So this is where the history is with me and the mining law. Now with Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, they'd been ambassadors to France, but when it was time to go negotiate the treaty, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson were named to be the ambassadors to England, to the Court of St. James, where it took months. It actually took a long time to hammer out an agreement, but then they couldn't just sign it. They had to send it back to Congress to get Congress to ratify it. Remember, we didn't have a president then. We didn't have a constitution, and so we were signing whatever we did here would be the basis of the Constitution for the United States to honor private property rights. Yeah, there would be some public lands, but mostly this was supposed to be dispersed amongst the people. Some were becoming sovereigns above. Below them would be the county. Below them would be the state. Below them would be the federal government. And this is how our country was supposed to operate. And that, you could voluntarily pay taxes on your land. But most people didn't pay property taxes because they didn't want the encumbrances. They did other things to pay taxes. Other things that they felt more comfortable in paying taxes, because you can't own a thing if you have to pay a tax. That means you're just a renter. You're just a leaser. Really, the county owns it. But lawyers in the 50s fraudulently transferred this into warranty deeds. When people died, they didn't put them in laudable title like they were supposed to be. They put them in warranty deeds, and they made the county the trustee, and they made it so you had to pay the trustee for the encumbrance of them being the trustee. And that's how they get property taxes out of you now. And so this is really a fraudulent transfer of property. It's called a constructive trust. Now, I don't know that I can do anything for people that's already happened to, but my lands haven't been granted yet, and me and my partners are the only ones that have the potential of getting a grant because we own the mineral estate on it, and it lies within 3 fault lines in the alluvial deposits. And so, and plus, I know where the hard rocks are. And so I have a very valuable claim, and they've never let me perfect it. They've been interfering with that grant. I claim they're in breach of contract. I asked England if they even have to take it to the UN and the U.S. Court of Appeals. I need your assistance to enforce the treaty, the grant, and the trust. And I need these agencies put in a constructive trust. And what I'm asking for is Inspector General be appointed to the trust. I need your assistance to get the Inspector General of the Department of Interior, the true trustee. And since they failed on their job, I demand that I get my justice by having my rights to laudable title for the government to be in breach of the grant, and an audit of accountability. And so I need England's assistance to enforce our trust so I can enforce our Constitution. And I ask for their assistance. I ask it through the miners of England to go to their parliament, demand that the ambassador meet with me and the ambassador of the United States and conduct the coordination. Oh, by the way, I'm a mining district. I'm a local government. I have certain procedures I have to do. You can't contact me directly. You have to do it through the ambassador of England. And I'm putting in a formal request the only way I know.
strongly about this.
Send out a ask
I already have
in
asked.
the chat if they can hear. Okay. We're just waiting to connect.
It should be connected already.
Okay, so can I? Should
I don't know if we're on or not. I'm still listening. No one's answering.
No one's answering. Oh, that would just be too scary.
We're good now. We're on.
All right, good. If anybody has any questions, I don't know if they heard the last program because we went dead air. I was talking about the People's Bank of Commerce. My branch is in Central Point, but it could be. I'm asking for a legal donation because I'm on a time limit. The court's demanding money from me to continue my case, so I have to a certain amount, and I'm about halfway there. It'll be on Double Cross Radio. I gave them exclusive on the details, so I'll let them give that to you. Where we're at here is we have a treaty with England. It's the basis of our Constitution. It's about private property rights. And when somebody gives a grant and there's either a public duty of trust or a duty of trust by the trustee, and they kind of confuse the issue here. There's administrators and then there's trustees. Trustees are directed what to do. Administrators tell the trustee what to do. So I'm the administrator here. I'm demanding the trustee of the Inspector General of the Department of Interior, BLM. That's their lawyers. And I'm getting the runaround by three court clerks. Now, by definition, a court clerk is a records keeper to keep records of proceedings, and they're to keep records of exhibits and records, all records and exhibits and as such. They're also supposed to keep an accounting on how much it all cost. And I'm demanding an audit of accountability on these three clerks of the court, because I had a clerk of Washington, D.C., name of O'Toole. I don't have his first name in front of me right at the moment, but his last name is O'Toole, Daniel O'Toole, and then there's that he's with that court, and then the Ninth Circuit signed orders. And they were foolish enough saying they were signing on behalf of the court. She just committed a fraud when she signed that. That would be, and it was also signed by the deputy director. So they both signed off to a fraud because they have no authority to sign an order, not on behalf of the court or anybody else. Because the only person that can sign an order of the court is a judge with jurisdiction. A judge without jurisdiction can't even sign the order. And that's what I have in U.S. District Court here in Medford from the District of Oregon. I have a magistrate and a judge, and I have more than one case. I have appellate court judges all signed off on a fraud. They signed off on a fraud because they didn't have the authority to sign off on this case, because the court of exclusive jurisdiction is the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. And I've got them more than one way. I've got them by the grant here by the United States law, but I also got it by treaty, because one of the first things in the treaty is you'll honor all grants. Well, we have a grant from the United States government. So the United States government has committed a constructive trust, and they're in breach of the trust, they're in breach of the grant, and they're in breach of the contract, they're in breach of the treaty. There's so many crimes have been committed here. It's almost an act of war, a treason against the people of the United States. Because it's not just me; it's all property owners. It's all people that got a grant. It's everybody. Because out here in the West, Oregon falls uniquely because the United States got to claim it without fighting anybody because it was unclaimed. Nobody claimed it. And so we claimed it. The United States did. Then they gave it away to the American citizen through the mineral estate, wherever it lies. Now, they didn't know where it lied directly, so it could be anywhere. It could be in your backyard. I mean, it depends on the geology and what kind of mineral you're talking about. And, and what were the minerals of that day and what are they of now? We're comparing, we are comparing different time periods, yes, but they enhanced the law in 1872 to allow for the periodic table to grow. There would be elements that they figured would be found that they didn't know about, and let alone if there'd be any use for them. But if it ever became a mineral discovery that had value, and it could be material as well, it just can't be common rock, oil or gas, or petroleum, because those were excluded. But if they're a metal, a crystal, they're fileable. You can file on gemstone. They're claimable because they're considered a valuable material, and they're not agriculture. So we have a grant here that starts well before 1866. They just codified it in 1866 for a while because we had a revolution. They used it for a while to pay the royalties to pay the debt of our debts. Once they were sufficed, they gave the land away. They gave it away to the American people to come file on. This land is disposed in the mineral state. Now, there's other lands that haven't been disposed, and they're different kinds of lands, and they need to be disposed to the citizens of the state, wherever they lie within the state, that you would be a state resident. And, yeah, we could create some parks.
Dave?
Just, yeah?
I've got a question, and it's not coming up in here. It's one that I want to... Is homesteading still allowed, or did the Antiquities Act actually close that? Can you go into that in detail a little bit?
Yes, in Alaska, I can't do all the detail. You can file 20-acre agricultural claims. Or you can file 20-acre mineral claims. It's
only in Alaska or Montana, though, correct? There's two states that still allow it. I believe it's Alaska and Montana.
Well, I don't know about the other states. I know Congress repealed it on federal lands in 1976 when they created FLTMA.
So how would that work on state lands?
Well, on state lands, the state's not supposed to own lands either. They're supposed to dispose of it other than parks, recreational things that people vote on to create. But it takes the vote of the people. The state has no authority to create state lands. Only the people do, and for limited purposes. Courthouses. By the way, the state doesn't have any courthouses except what's in Salem. They rent your county courthouse. Your county actually has the courthouse, and the state rents it from them. For the state pays rent when you're brought in to Jackson or Josephine County, they pay rent for the courthouse. And what they did is they got rid of district court judges and they created all circuit court judges. There's no more county judges for county ordinances. You get hit. Well, in Jackson County, you get heard by an administrative judge. Josephine County, you get a circuit court judge because we overturned the administrative court that the county commissioners tried to shove down us. We got it repealed. So because they were lying. But so as public officials are the trustee, the citizens are the administrator, or the beneficiary is another way to say it, or a grantee is another way to say it. Now I'm using the old language and the new language. A grantee is a beneficiary, and a beneficiary is, and the first duty of a trustee is loyalty to the beneficiary. That means loyalty to the grantee, loyalty to the trust, and you can't have dual loyalties. If you're a public trust and you're on the Board of County Commissioners, you can't sit on nonprofit boards that you're going to be giving money to. That's considered a breach of trust because you're creating dual loyalties and dual agencies, and they're highly illegal. During King Henry VIII's time, he would gut you for it. So that, and I mean literally, you might put your head on a spike and stick it at the gates of his castle. And so I'm not suggesting we do such a thing. That would be horrible. That would be like these guys, Isthmus. Those guys are horrible. But I think they're funded by the CIA, but that's another story for another day. Maybe for another show they'll give me. But what we have here is we have criminal activity going on under the guise, under what they call color of law, and it's grossly its attack on our sovereignty is supposedly being free people. We're not free people. We're slaves. We're slaves to the system, and it's time. I believe this is where I come back to Jefferson, because Jefferson signed the treaty. And when he was ambassador, so did Benjamin Franklin on the authorization of Congress. When they came back, the slogan was "A Republic for Jefferson." Well, we need to form a state for Jefferson, and so I propose for Josephine County to do a movement which and create the Republic of Jefferson, the state thereof. But it's going to be based on a republic form of government. And since I can base it on the Treaty of England and the foundation of the Constitution, I think England's obligated to help enforce it as their trustee as well. They're both trustees to honor their end of the deal because it's a contract. A compact and a treaty.
This is going to be inflammatory the way I say this, Dave, but England is supposed to exonerate this contract on the U.S. Wouldn't that be like the United Nations saying that we can't have National Guard on the southern border? And if anybody out there wants to call in, we do have a number. It's 718-717-8296.
I'm pulling a fast one. See, I'm using a double-edged sword. See, they usually use it against us. I'm using it against both of them because I'm saying England's a trustee and she's in breach as well. I want to coordinate through my federal government, my state government, my sheriff. I want to coordinate with all the agencies, and I want to sit down and have a meeting, and I'm asking them to come here. I'm asking them to coordinate with my local government to government, and I'm asking the ambassador of England to come and coordinate everything for the fraud of the system that's been created through a diversion of the treaty the contract, the compact, and all that, in the Constitution, because the Constitution is based on that treaty. That it all stems from that treaty. And England's technically a trustee, and she's obligated to enforce it as a trustee. And as an administrator of a local government, a sovereign government in the United States, in a county that's in a state that's in the Union of the United States, the Republic of the United States. I'm demanding my republic back, and I'm demanding that we coordinate all of this with all the parties. This is, I don't mean to be flippant, but this is my only way I can do a legal notice to get a hold of England, because if Jules puts this, puts a little header that would fit this, so that I could put it up, when she puts it up on YouTube, I could put it in, and England will watch my channel, because I have probably 50 or 60 people that watch it from England. So I would like to, this is my one way to communicate with them, that they could listen to this show, and I could get the common people of England demand their trust, because see, they got one as well. Theirs is different than ours, because they're subjects to the Queen. We're not. So I'm just trying to point them the way to a republic. I think England's time for England to have a republic. That's for them to do, not me. I'm here in the United States. This is my homeland, as far as I'm concerned, and this is I'm making my stand to keep the republic as a keeper. And all that I am, all that I'll ever be, if I do nothing else, and even if I get run over by a Mack truck tomorrow, I'll be a free man. You see, I'm saying no, hell no, I will never, ever, ever give up. And if you know anything about my surname, Everest, well, IST is a suffix, and if you look up my surname, Everist, you'll see where you'll find a database. There's actually two. Anyways, I disregard that history, because you can't pick who your relatives are or who your past relatives are. But my name is the basis for Mount Everest. I never knew that. I thought that because it was spelled different, there was something different about it. Turns out there isn't any difference. It's a difference in language, syntax, and what period of time you're talking about in history. My name could be spelled in many different forms. They all mean the same thing. Means always is, or ever is to. And that means I am what I am because the Creator made me. And I see so much corruption around me. I spent too long in the wilderness. And when I came out, I didn't recognize anything from when I went into the woods, from the time I went out of the woods. And I was flabbergasted to see how it changed, because I didn't have a television. I didn't watch TV. Yeah, I listened to the radio, but Barack Obama was president for 3 years before I ever even seen a picture of him. That tells you how where I was at then, because all I wanted to be was left alone on my mining claim. And the Forest Service made me who I am today, and I got to thank them for it, because now I'm forearmed and they're not. I'm on the ascension, they're on the decline. Because see, I'm moving for freedom wherever it can be formed at by whoever can form it. And yeah, I think diverse groups can come together, because I've seen it. I've seen it all my life. Yeah, the Rogue Valley's never been that diverse, but the Rogue Valley isn't everywhere. What we need to do is we need to quit having the government divide and conquering and keep us in a perpetual war. What we need to do is we need to assert our beneficiary rights as the beneficiaries of the legacy of the history of the United States. We need to seize it back. I don't mean with a gun, and I don't mean with a bomb. I mean with a pen, with an idea, with a thought, with just saying no. No, no, I'm not taking it no more. And you do what you have to. I'll do what I have to, short of having a civil war, because see, that would be ugly. And I want to get out of ugly. And that's what they want. They want some clown to go out and shoot somebody so they can have another reason to try to take your gun away or take your property. Or they might decide, well, we don't like peas anymore. We find that peas, there's something wrong with peas, so we've got to ban peas. And they get everybody on the bandwagon to ban peas. Well, would that make much sense to ban peas? You know what? Some cities have done that in the United States. Is that ridiculous? That you can't grow peas because some farmer in the rural area got the city to pass that you can't grow peas in the city? I mean, come on. That's creating harm in your neighbor. You can't create harm in your neighbor because you want to have legalized bribery because you can give a donation because a guy needs a lot of money to put advertising on to run for office, and the amount of money it takes to run for any particular office if you've got any serious opposition is enormous, and it shouldn't be so difficult. I'm not saying take money out of it. I'm saying take your boot out of my neck. That I'm sorry for getting a little angry. That see, Kobe, the VA's got the boot on your neck. Because if you need assistance, they want you to come to them. Unless you can figure out, like my dad did, he only went to them when he had to. My dad worked for Williams Parts and Equipment as a mechanic, and they had insurance, so they had really good insurance because it covered me while I was a kid, and the employer provided good insurance, and he had made a good living. Well, they've made that impossible now. If you go to work now, everybody I know that used to make $20 or $25 an hour is now working for $8. Well, how are you supposed to make a house payment with that? How are you supposed to feed your kid? Then you send your kid to college and pay for that. Come on, everybody's trying to get in everybody's pocket. Can't we just leave people alone and learn to accept who you are for who you are and who I am for who I am and commit no harm? Now, I got to be realistic. Not everybody's going to be that way. So we need a little bit of self-regulation. And it may come to a time that the sheriff you have, you may have to come to his assistance because he might not have anybody. You might have the sheriff, and that's all you have at some point in time in the future, unless he organizes the citizenry, because he can do that. He has the authority. You elect a sheriff, he has the authority because he's a militia. The county sheriff is the chief law enforcement. He is the militia. He's in charge of his area. Federal government isn't. That means if he wants to invite the federal government in, he can set conditions on them, and he can set conditions they follow his orders, nobody else's. If he's a good negotiator and he follows the Constitution and says, I'm going to follow the Constitution, yeah, I need your assistance, but you're going to follow my orders, not your commanders. And you put them under the allegiance of the county sheriff, and if they don't follow any orders, he can put them in the brig. And that's the kind of sheriff we need. We need him badly. And I would say for your county attorney, you need a divorce attorney. I think a real good cutthroat divorce attorney, that's what we need. We need a divorce attorney for Jackson and Josephine County. And fortunately for us, we got one. His name is Wally Hicks in Josephine County. That's what he was accused of by his opponent, Mr. Rich. I thought it was totally ridiculous. But when he said it, I thought to myself, and I told Wally this, I said, when he said you were a divorce attorney, I thought to myself, that's just exactly what we need. And because, see, they know how to defend rights of whoever they're defending, because they know how to be an agent to them. And so I believe Wally Hicks will be a true agent. And the Forest Service, BLM, look out, we're coming to get you. We'll be back with another tour. If I don't win this one, if this one gets jammed away, there's another one coming. Only difference is I'm going to have Mr. Wally Hicks helping the mining districts. Working, the miners are going to help him. He's going to help us. And in turn, he's going to help the sheriff. And that's what I have to say for now on that. But I would like to start another movement of getting people...
Dave, you're in Josephine County. It's a little bit different out there.
I'm in Josephine County. Right, but people...
You live around the corner from me, but you're registered out there. Josephine County has seen probably one of the, well, not the hardest, but one of the hardest hits to their actual funding. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have seen so much cutback from logging, and you're not always going to get all the logging back. There's a lot of it that's not going to come back.
Well, I think we can force the disposal of the land to the county.
I think that's honestly a brilliant idea, because
if the county commissioners don't go along with it, his stuff, the sheriff can take them on his own, and he can take the lands for the sheriff's department, and they go to the sheriff. If the county commissioners don't enter in with it, if it's just the sheriff going, he gets all the lands for the sheriff's department. The rest of the county's out.
Well, right, and recently
he sells them at auction, and he takes the money, and he can sell them low wheel, meaning that without any encumbrances, and that would put the rest of the county out, unless the county sues. If the commissioners don't vote to sue, the rest of the county's out, because the sheriff is independent of the county. He's his own agency, separate from the commissioners. The commissioners make the ordinances, but he enforces them, and their fiduciary duties are different. And so they make a distinction between the sheriff and the commissioners. Commissioners make policy and write ordinances, and the sheriff enforces ordinances to the trust of the law, to the budget they give him to enforce it with, because it's the county commissioners that give him the budget as from general funds. But because if he sues under the ONC lands that lie within the county, that would create a new trust if he won it, and all the lands would funnel into that trust. That's the way I see it structured. And then he could sell the lands off low deal and fund it. He doesn't have to sell them off. He has to sell them off in a reasonable time limit. He doesn't have to sell them all off at once so he plummets real estate prices. He can sell them in small blocks, like 20-acre blocks. And he could do a quarter sections or sections in any given area that the ONC lands would be at. And so that money then would flow into a trust, and then they could manage that trust where it would have enough funding to be in perpetuity. There wouldn't be any county tax on the sheriff because it'd be funded from the sale of the lands. That's the way I see it structured since the federal government is in breach of the original grant. You have to construct a new, what they call a constructing trust. That one wraps up around their neck and becomes a millstone, and they write a new trust, transferring all the property into a new trust, naming the sheriff as the trustee to dispose of the lands at a sheriff's sale, low deal. And there wouldn't be any property tax on it, unless, and then if the rest of the county wanted any money to get in on the sale of the lands, they would have to enter into the lawsuit as the county commissioners on behalf of the county. And I was told they weren't interested in doing that. Are we dead?
No, sir, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I was sending you a message.
Yeah.
Fortunately, tonight I've got
You can have my
two
glasses
shows.
on.
So I've got the 2 hours before this, well, up until 7, and then I'm also on with Double Cross as the actual host tonight, which we switch it up every once in a while. I think tonight's
So I
actually
got
been
the
pretty
last
good.
Yes, I think so. And I'm sorry for rambling on because I had a lot of material to cover in a short period of time.
I can definitely understand that, sir.
And I didn't really write any of it down. I just spoke it from the heart.
It actually that was really you did pretty good. The audience seemed to actually. I was watching the chat also. They seemed to be into this. I'm going to be here for the rest of it, but the second our music starts, I'm cutting off, Dave. So we've got about 11 minutes till that happens. I think a lot of what you spoke about tonight was really, really, really beneficial for some to hear, and a lot of them might understand it, but maybe
So
not
we're
go research it.
off to music now?
No. We've still got 11 minutes, sir.
Oh, okay. So what I want to do is wrap it up. What I want to do, because Jefferson was the signer of the treaty with Benjamin Franklin, it makes it really good because that makes the state of Jefferson possible. Because we can argue that that's the part of the trust. We can create our own state. I think that it's possible to get Josephine County, if people will spread this to Josephine County and get this going viral. I think we can get the people of Josephine County to vote to go to within the bounds of the county to vote to be to the state of Jefferson. And even if we only have that one county, we have the state. We have a republic form of government for the state of Jefferson in Oregon. We can have other counties join in as they want to at their convenience. But because I know it'll take a lot more here in Jackson County. But I would suggest that we get to work. And now that doesn't mean you give up on the candidates for Oregon. We take care of what's first is first. We get the candidates into Oregon before we withdraw from it, because it might take some time to get the stuff we need to get, if you know what I mean. And that's where I'm at for that. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the county meeting I went to in Josephine County. I went there and put a notice in of the public violation of the commissioners to vote to give a joint membership as each other's agents in agency for economic development. It's called Southern Oregon Regional Economic Incorporated. It's a nonprofit. What it does is they want $25,000 for a membership from government. I don't know what they actually charge on the private side. That it says it's flexible because you can pay your membership if you're poor by doing voluntary work, and so this has been what they call a public-private partnership. Now, they cloak themselves in public-private partnership as doing economic development, but what it is economic theft. It's malfeasance of county commissioners that voted to give these guys, join these guys in a fiduciary contract to each other against the commissioners' public trust not to have dual loyalties. So I noticed them back. I demanded they vacate their office. At some point in time, if we get enough people going in there, now I had a couple typos on mine, but we could fix this up where you just change the name, and you could file this. You could go into the county commissioner meeting, and where you find county commissioners in breach of their trust, where you find a county commissioner that's on the board of both boards. By the way, you have one in Jackson County, but it's not for me to tell you. It's for you to go find out. But I can tell you, Jackson County is a member of us already, and they're giving them lottery dollars. I would suggest somebody look into the membership. Why are they getting money for SolarReady? That's really unjust. It's the modern version. Public-private partnerships are the modern face of fascism without racism. They're not racist. They're fascist. They don't necessarily have to go together. Look, Obama. Obama's a fascist, but he's not, and he's a racist against whites. But you can have people that are fascists that are not racist. They're indifferent. They're indifferent to race. As long as you toe their line, they don't care what race you are. They look at the color of your money as being green, and or in this case, is it green or is it gold or is it platinum or is it your land? Can we steal your land from you that was supposed to be disposed of 166 years ago? So why aren't they disposing of the lands? So as a keeper of the Republic, Secretary of Mining for Twin Cedar Mining District, I demand that you follow the grant and honor your trust, and the mineral estate's been disposed of. The only thing you need to do is appoint a trustee so we can start patenting the land and start issuing the patents. Right now you're in breach of the trust on my claim, not one claim, but 3 claims. And I've got another friend, my name's not on, but you're in breach of his as well. And so I'm asking that all the miners that have been hassled over the years be given title to their land. Not just me, but all miners. I can't do that in court specifically. I can just give you the cases so you can go do it yourself. But we need to start getting people in there arguing the case correctly and getting by the clerk of the court that's is disposing cases unlawfully, sending them to inferior courts. I say the clerk of the court of the U.S. Court of Appeals for Washington, D.C. is in breach of his public trust to keep the records and not to manipulate records and not to be signing orders that he has no jurisdiction to order. And that goes for the clerk of the court of the Ninth Circuit and the deputy clerk that signed those orders. Because I have the Ninth Circuit signed by both, not just one, but both of them signed it. Now it's an electronic signature, but it's still their signature. They still signed it, and they signed an order unlawfully. And if they sign any other order similar to that, an audit will be found out. Oh, they got a big, long bill to pay back, because that becomes a millstone around their neck. I mean it metaphorically. I mean, they're always in the constructive trust in perpetuity until they pay their debt back. And this is a civil case. You cannot, it's considered a breach of your public trust. Oh, and it removes you from office. You can no longer work for a government. And that means even as a janitor, because a janitor has to go through, has to be cleared to go into a federal building. And so that means, well, Mr. Fong, when you told me I could go out in the street and pick cans up to pay a $2,000 fine, I thought you were insane. But you know what? I'm going to give you the same thing. Mr. Fong, you're going to need to pick up cans, and it'll take you 10 generations to pay it back. Have a nice day. Now, we don't really do that anymore, but that's what it used to be. It used to be you tied that anchor around your children's neck as well. We don't do that anymore. But we can do it to him that caused the problem. That means they lose their pensions, they lose their property, but they keep their debt. If they have a mortgage on their house, the mortgage is stripped out of it and the land is given to the individual that committed the fraud upon as reimbursement for their debt. This could be in the multi-millions, because there could be, in this case, I have multi-defendants. I don't have, this is what they call a reverse class action. This is where there's one defendant and all the, probably a few dozen to 50.
All right, Dave, we're about the 2-minute mark here, bud, and we're gonna have to wrap up. I help you out with this. I'm gonna plug. We've got Double Cross Radio coming up next with myself, Drew. David is not going to join us. Chuck will be there. We've got a couple of really good guests on. We've got Bruce Cook, or Open Carry USMC, who's an activist. We've got Mike McLean from Bad County, and then we've also got Chuck Froenick from KCMX 880. Dave, why don't you plug your legal fund? And before you do so, I'm going to make some comments about it.
People's Bank of Commerce here in Southern Oregon. There's one in Central Point, there's one in Medford, and there's one in Ashland that I know of.
Dave's about $200 from his goal, and me being a member of Double Cross Radio campaign.
I'm about 205.
I decided to help out a little bit, and I talked to the two other democratically voting members of our Campaign for Liberty Jackson County area chapter, and we gave something we got as a donation to us as a kind of a prize for being a voluntarianism. So those that do donate will be put in a hat and pulled out by whoever Dave sees fit, be it one of the kids or the dog, to win a silver coin. It's I believe it's a Silver Eagle Troy ounce. It's pinned to the top of Double Cross's Facebook, but we've got the music coming out, and Dave can. I know we've got.
Have a good evening, and I'll be listening on Double Cross Radio.
Alrighty, sir. It's been really nice, and I really want to thank Vincent for giving us the time to actually have this 2-hour segment where I've got an hour and Dave's an hour. I think it's on. So thanks again for listening to What Matters Most.
Jumbling, the USA is crumbling. Y'all sit back, dumb as shit. The mass invasion, the home invasions. The CPS is coming to snatch your babies. These confiscations, the conversations. They're operating within the zones we traded. We're in the matrix, now we're totally raided. They infiltrated, finally the devil gave in. If you can't hear me, then pump up the volume. Make Donald, Bin Laden, Osama, Obama. Bring up something real, legalize marijuana. Everything on a bong hit is as blonde as Madonna. Radioactive, intergalactic, counterattack.